Hey everyone, this is Simon SD, host of the Game Disc podcast. First of all, I want you to know that this is not an ad. I just have a message. You are currently listening to the first episode of our podcast about Skyrim. While generally the first episode is a good place to start, this was our first time doing any sort of podcast, so it's not great. The sound is really bad, and as you can hopefully tell from this recording, we have improved greatly. The second episode is a little bit better, but it isn't really until the third episode that we kind of figured it all out. So while I appreciate you listening from the beginning, if the sound is a turnoff for you, try out our third episode about Luigi's Mansion. We've kind of figured it out there, and we've been doing better ever since. If you love us, that's great. We're happy that you're appreciating the stuff we're doing, and then you can go back and maybe listen to this one when you're already a fan. If you want to give this one a shot anyway, go for it. Just know that our audio does get better as we go on, and please don't judge us based on this first appearance. Without any further ado, here's the show, and thank you for listening as always. Welcome, everyone, to the Game Disc. This is the podcast where every week we discuss a specific game, brand new, retro, or anything in between, and figure out if it's worth putting on our top 100 games of all time. I'm your host, Simon Esty, and I am joined by my co-host,
Noah Esty.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the massive Microsoft leak, some fun news from the Tokyo Game Show, and then we're going to finish up with today's game discussion about Skyrim. We all know Skyrim is a good game, but is it top 100 good? We're going to find that out tonight. But first, Noah, how is Nagoya, Japan?
Yeah, so it's pretty nice. It's currently Saturday morning over here, and it was pretty good.
I was going to say, I'm just asking you like in general question, like, next week I'll ask you how like the Caribbean is, and you'll be like, I don't know. I think it's good.
Exactly. Well, it's like, and then just as it keeps going on, it's going to get more ridiculous. Like, hey, so how's space? And it's like, oh, pretty good. I'm joined by William Shatner over here. Will, would you like to say I'm on my podcast? No. Okay, I'll just go fuck myself then. That's cool. This week I hung out with some friends. I'm probably going to be playing some games later on today. And yeah, nothing too special. But what about you, Simon? How are you doing today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long week. It's been a long 2 weeks with my fiance gone for the next like 4 weeks.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, but she'll be back. She saw what Jesus did and thought I could do that. It's just taking her longer.
To the necromancy classes that you've been taking.
Oh no, it was purely the Jesus thing. It's just taking her a little bit longer. No, she's at flight attendant training, so she'll be back in a couple weeks, but until then I'm on dog duty in like chore duty, so it's just like it's a lot. I don't know how people who like I don't know how, well, I guess you don't have a dog, but
no, I
don't. It's rough, but it's okay. It's the weekend and we've got video game stuff to talk about. So let's just get right into it. So the big news this week is the Microsoft leaks. I mean, I think at this point, if you're even moderately involved in the game industry and what's going on, you probably heard about this. But Microsoft had some documents that they uploaded for their trial with the FTC, and they didn't redact them properly. So somebody was able to like go into those public documents because it's a court case, so it was all public, and find a lot of tea about Microsoft. Kind of some of the big things is apparently Activision saw the Switch 2. Let's just kind of go down the list. Do you have anything you want to say about Activision touching the Switch 2? Like Bobby Kotick was able to like put his grubby little fingers on it.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's good that we have like just more like obviously we don't have confirmation because confirmation is Nintendo goes out and says it, but we have like enough as close to
Yeah, this is
confirmation
as
as you
good as
can get.
confirmation outside of an
And
official release. This is a court
and
document.
yeah, and Nintendo really needs their new console. Like right now, the big like joke in like the game community right now is how bad Mortal Kombat 1 looks on the Nintendo Switch. And people are like, they're charging $70 for this game, and this game just looks awful. So it's one of those things where Nintendo, I'm not say I guess to say they need a new console is inaccurate because the Switch is like the
I
one of, if not
am
the
a
greatest selling.
huge Switch fan. The Switch is the
Hmm.
console I play the most. I love my Switch. They
Hmm.
need a new console.
Yeah, that's fair.
When Tears of the Kingdom came out, my fiance was playing it on our big like 65-inch TV, and I
Hmm.
was just playing it on the OLED, and I would like look up and see how it looked on the big TV, and it looked terrible. Like I'm like, I'm good on the OLED. I don't think I played a minute of that game on the TV because I was like, and that's been my thing. Like, I don't play
Hmm.
my Switch really docked anymore. And sorry for that weird sound in the background.
No,
That is
it's
my
okay.
dog going to town on a Kong because she kept chewing on the chair. So I was like, this ought to keep her occupied. And I didn't know you can eat a Kong like that loudly,
What?
but she
Oh,
found
oh,
out. She found out how to do it.
yeah. When you
Um,
said eat a Kong, I assumed she just like devoured it whole. Like,
no, it's like a tube filled with peanut butter, and she
okay,
is
so just kind of chewing on it.
sucking
Yeah.
it dry.
Well,
um, but yeah, so I'm all for a Switch 2. I'm glad that we're getting more and more rumors because I'm as much as I love this thing, I'm ready for. I mean, it's old. It's a 7-year-old
yeah.
console that was old when it came, like that was built on old tech when it came out. So it's definitely showing its age.
Yeah,
Um.
and I
Oh
remember like sorry, just one last thing. I remember going back even I think it was like WWE 2K18, 2K19, one of those, the Switch
yeah,
version
it
was
was real
like
bad.
awful. And there was like several FIFA games I believe where it's like people are like this is awful. Like I think there's something like they straight up released like the previous year's version on the
Yeah.
Switch with like they just updated the roster. So it's like, yeah, console's selling great, but it's one of those things where it's like, Nintendo's really gonna want to make a Switch 2 if they want to keep that money coming.
Yep. And obviously Nintendo console games look great on it, but
Hmm.
other
So
third
long as
party,
you do the handheld
yeah,
version.
yeah, exactly. Um, and because Nintendo's always gotten those console exclusives pretty well,
Hmm.
and Microsoft historically has not. But that might
Hmm.
change because also in the court leaks, we saw, or they said Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a console exclusive. Um, to people surprised by this, why? Like when Starfield was, uh, like I thought this was all kind of common knowledge. I thought we
Yeah,
all knew that once Starfield was and Redfall were console exclusive to, well, Xbox. They're console exclusive to
yeah,
Xbox. So they'll be on PC.
hmm,
I thought we knew that this was just gonna be how it goes. Like,
yeah.
and people are like, what? I mean,
I Oh,
what?
sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
no, I was done. I was gonna
Oh,
ask.
okay.
All I was gonna say is, what's your take on this? So,
So I think that like, correct me if I'm wrong, but early on when they Microsoft first announced the acquisition,
oh,
oh
geez, sorry
geez,
about that.
man, that's like
Shh.
a man, that takes me back to like the days of the first Resident Evil when the dogs jumped through the window. But like I was saying, I think it was because like when they first had the acquisition, Phil Spencer said something like, "No, like not all of their games are going to be exclusive," and so it was a thing where like a lot of people whom are quote unquote surprised. It's not that they're surprised; it's more just like they knew this was going to happen. They were just waiting for the confirmation so that that way they can kind of like voice their disapproval. But I
Yeah,
mean, it's
they've just been sharpening the pitchfork since the deal went
exactly,
through, and now
yeah,
they're ready to.
sharpening the pitchforks and dousing the torches in
Yeah, they're
oil.
like, well, when do we get to stab stuff? Well, now
Yeah.
you can stab stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
But
and Was there anything else you want to say about the Elder Scrolls
Um,
6? I don't have a whole lot to say because I mean
yeah,
it's just yeah, it's kind of what I assumed this. If I were Microsoft, I'd make it exclusive too. I mean, you
yeah.
paid a lot of money for Bethesda. Elder Scrolls 6 is gonna probably be bigger than Starfield. Um
Oh, definitely.
like yeah, why, Microsoft
I
needs
mean,
every win they can get.
yeah,
Um
like
but oh,
Skyrim itself, like that game may be a top 100 game on all time. Wonder if we'll ever find out if it is, but
yeah, it'd be
yeah,
nice
it's
if somebody
something
could
that
figure that out.
yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like it's always a shame for a franchise that's previously multi-platform to go exclusive. Like a lot of PlayStation fans who don't have Xboxes, myself included, like I won't be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 unless I get a console. Um, Not that I am a big Elder Scrolls fan, but yeah, it is always disappointing when a previously multi-platform game becomes exclusive.
Yep, I agree.
Mhm,
But if you don't have an Xbox, you can get one because also part of this leak was that the Series X and S are both getting mid-gen refreshes.
mhm,
The S just kind of got a refresh. It's got like a 2 terabyte model, but they're coming out with another refresh, and then they're
mhm.
also coming out with one for the Series X. And the big thing about the Series X is it's a cylindrical box. It's our first not cubed
Angular.
box. Yeah. But it also doesn't have a disk drive, which Microsoft talked a couple of weeks ago about how they weren't making a Pro, and this leaked product is not a Pro. It is pretty much the same thing made with a little bit cheaper. It's got like a more efficient chips in some parts, and like I said, a
Mhm,
bigger hard drive, and it's missing the disk drive to save on cost. It seems like this is very much just we came out with this thing 3 years ago. In 5 years after it came out, things are
mhm,
cheaper. We can do a little redesign and save some money every time we sell one of these.
mhm,
And also, as part of that new console, um, it's going to come with a new controller, which
mhm,
is pretty much the same as the current controller, but it's going to have the DualSense features of like the adaptive triggers and the speaker inside, which again, I mean, that'll be cool because I do kind of like the adaptive triggers. So
mhm,
getting them in third party games or more third party games will be kind of cool.
mhm. Yeah, and I mean, going back to it, I like my discs. I always buy games physical. I actually would consider buying a uh Xbox without the disc drive just because like I mean, you have an Xbox. When was the last time you bought an Xbox game?
I bought Sonic Generations like
Okay.
6 months ago,
w- When was
but
the
that's
last all right. When was
the
the
last
last
time I
time you
bought a
bought a
Series X game.
Yeah,
I have not bought a Series X game.
exactly. So it's like if Game Pass is, and I'm sure that most Xbox users are the same, like if Game Pass has every game on it, like why buy things?
Yeah,
So that
no,
is actually like yeah, I'd consider buying that actually.
yeah, and that's why the Series S has actually done like decently well. I
Hmm.
think especially in Japan, the Series S
Hmm.
is like I don't know how much I should say because I don't know exactly. But when
Yeah.
it first came out, it was the doing better than the Series X and the PS5 because it was like
Hmm.
abundant and it was small, so it fit easily in Japanese households. But
Yeah.
um, the if you don't want to get a small console and you want the next big thing, Microsoft has your back because they're coming out with a new next gen console
Hmm.
in just 5 short years in 2028.
Hmm.
Uh, no shit. Like that will I did these come out? These came out in 2020, right?
um, yeah, I believe
Yeah,
so
they
because I
the
believe
consoles came out
even
in. Go
like
ahead.
yeah, because I believe so because even like back then that was the thing they were so hard to find because of the
Yeah, it was made
corona.
worse by COVID. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean that if anything that seems long, but I guess it makes sense as our sort of improvements to consoles and technology get less impressive with every passing year. It makes sense that generations can
and
last a little longer. Uh,
and I feel like that's also just yeah, like how things are going. Games are taking a lot longer to develop now than they used to, so it makes sense for consoles to also take longer as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you nailed it.
Hmm.
Um, and speaking of nailing it, if Microsoft could just nail some of these games, they could get enough money because that's the only thing stopping them from buying Nintendo. As I'm kidding, by the way, Microsoft has all the money. As part of these leaks, Phil Spencer talked about how it would be a career-defining moment for him to facilitate a purchase of Nintendo. Um,
It
and
would be a career-defining moment, yeah.
I mean that would, if I was able to buy Nintendo, that would be a career defining moment for me too. And
Yeah,
whether I
exactly.
worked at Microsoft or not, if I worked at Nintendo and Nintendo bought itself, that would still be a career defining moment. Um,
If Microsoft bought like a country, like they got the rights to an entire just country, that would also be a career-defining moment.
yeah, or like if they somehow bought Activision, um, which I didn't even put that, but today the CMA did say that, hey, that'll probably go through. So it seems like that's going to go through. But back to
Yeah,
buying Nintendo,
yeah.
Activision's old news, baby. They're going to
Hmm.
have Super Mario Smash Chief, and it's going to
Yeah.
be the best game ever. Um, I wanted to say Smash, but I was thinking of Smash with Mario, so I just said Super Mario, and I was like, oh, that's a real game.
That
Um,
is a real game, yeah.
it's a
Pretty
couple of
big
them.
series too.
Yeah,
I
that's
see
why
the new one's coming
Microsoft
out
wants to
soon.
buy them.
They're like, we want that Mario. The Halo series, a lot of people didn't like it, but it seemed everybody loved the Mario movie.
If people did, yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
just the mustache. But yeah, so I mean, I this could never. Well, I don't want to say never. I don't see
no.
Nintendo. I don't know if you heard this. This was a
Hmm.
story a while, like a year or so ago, where I
Hmm.
think during the original Xbox, the like head went to go to talk about maybe buying Nintendo, and he was like literally laughed out of the meeting room.
Hmm.
Like the execs at Nintendo just thought that was the funniest joke they've heard.
Yeah.
And I guarantee like their position has not really changed much.
No.
And I mean, yeah,
And correct me
it's
if
a pie in
I'm
the sky, but I mean, whatever.
correct me if I'm wrong. They were also Phil Spencer was also talking about buying Valve, correct?
He did, yeah. He was talking about buying everybody. I think Square Enix was like on the short list.
Hmm.
There was somebody else I don't. Oh, Sega was on there. I mean, it's Microsoft; they have the money to buy
Yeah.
everybody. But Valve is the big one. Valve is like that, which is kind of scary because you could almost see them doing that.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, the thing is, like, so Gabe Newell, first, he actually used to work for Microsoft.
mhm.
Um, I don't know how exactly he, like, I don't know how his relationship is with them. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I, I feel like maybe as far as Gabe Newell's around, they wouldn't want to
Yeah, I
be
mean,
purchased just because, like, the thing about Steam is, like, here's the thing, this is the big problem with trying to buy, like, Nintendo and trying to buy Steam. Um, Microsoft couldn't buy Remedy. They couldn't buy Remedy, like, during the time that Remedy was having, like, financial struggles, just because they were like, we don't want to feel beholden to somebody. We want to make
yeah.
whatever,
Well,
like, we can. And I feel like Valve and Nintendo are both very, very similar to that, but they're
so
much bigger.
you need, well, yes, but you need to keep in mind Nintendo is a publicly traded company,
Hmm.
so things are different. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, there are other people with the power to make those decisions. Now, Nintendo
Hmm.
is in a strong enough position where I think that the people who make those decisions probably don't have any reason to sell to Microsoft.
Yep.
But if things ever got bad enough to Nintendo, that is something that could happen. The thing about
Hmm.
Valve, which I think, I'm not saying it'll happen because I don't
Uh-huh.
think it'll happen for a while, but Gabe Newell is not getting any younger. That is still a
No.
private company, but at some point, uh, spoiler alert, Gabe Newell's gonna die one day.
What?
Like,
No, he's not.
he will die one day, and I don't know if the company will go public. I don't know if there's somebody in line to inherit it or whatever. But if he's got a kid, I don't know about Gabe Newell's
Yeah.
life.
No.
him and I are very good friends, but
Once
we
he
just
become
talk about video games.
yeah, well, once he becomes Gabe Oldol, that's when things are going to start getting serious.
Yeah. Sorry, I took a drink of water at the worst time.
Yeah,
But what I was
water.
saying is, at some point, if he's got a kid and his kid's like, I don't like video games, I really like horse racing,
I
and
like crushing pussy,
yeah,
dog.
yeah, uh, he looks just like Gabe Newell, but has like, but wears like punk rock stuff. But no, but if he inherits Steam or however their ownership works, I have no
Yeah.
clue.
hmm
And he just wants money. Like, that's, to me, that doesn't sound like something that's like outside of the realm of possibility. But
Yeah.
probably not for a while. But that's, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it for the Microsoft leaks. Was there anything else
Yeah.
you kind of wanted to touch on, or I think we hit it
No,
all the
not
important
really. Just
stuff?
yeah, the big thing is I don't think that they're going to be able to buy these companies for a very long time, if
Oh,
ever,
they're
just
not buying
because
anybody now. Not with
yeah,
Activision. That was
no.
so much more of a struggle
And
than I think they expected. They're done for
yeah,
a while.
and especially like buying Nintendo, that's a Japanese company. That's not an American company trying to buy an American company. It's an American company trying to buy a Japanese company, which makes things
Yeah, it's
even
because Japan
harder.
has their own laws. Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of Japan, Tokyo Game Show is this week/weekend.
hmm
Um,
Yep.
Tokyo Game Show has always been like, it took me like quite a few years to realize, even though it's like this hyped up event, which I think the only reason I think it's a hyped up event is because um, when E3 was on G4,
hmm
they would always like talk about like all the cool stuff. Like, we got E3 in the summer and then Tokyo Game Show later in the summer.
hmm
Um, and I was like, oh, Tokyo Game Show is just Japanese E3. It's
hmm
not. Like,
No.
the announcements that get made at Tokyo Game Show, it's more of like an in-depth thing.
hmm
So there wasn't a whole lot new. We did get some new information about Yakuza. The new
Yep.
Yakuza games are coming to Game Pass, which,
hmm
no surprise.
Nope.
And then also, we got a really long look at Dragon's Dogma 2. It's like a
hmm
10-minute trailer. Did you watch
Yeah.
it?
I watched some of it.
Oh, it's
I didn't
so
watch all of it. I watched the beginning, but not all of it.
uh watch it.
Really?
It's I mean, if the beginning, I actually did the opposite. I skipped to like the middle and I ended up watching most of it.
Oh,
It's really, it looks, I've never played Dragon's Dogma. It looks really cool.
yeah. I think that was why I only watched the beginning because it was like, um, so it was like in Dragon's Dogma, like you have. I was like brushing my teeth while watching it because the thing is, this trailer, the Capcom Live event was very late in Japan. It was like 11 or like midnight. I think it was like 11. So I was like getting ready for bed, just kind of playing it, and they were like, "We have the like in this game, it's a single player RPG, but you have three pawns, and then you choose your class. There's like fighter, which uses swords, archer, which uses bows, and I played the original one. I never beat it, not because I didn't like it, but just because it was a game that like I just stopped playing one
It's
day
a
and
long
never
game
got
and
around.
time is limited.
Yeah, and so like I did it. And I was like, I mean, it's cool, but this just sounds like Dragon's Dogma 1. So
Yeah,
um,
so I don't know about that. I watched the part where they show off the rogue. Did you see that?
no,
Oh
I
my
just got like the
gosh.
archer.
It's so badass. I'm like, I don't know anything about this game, but I'm playing a rogue. He's like fighting a troll, and
Mhm,
the troll, like, he just runs up and just starts like hacking away at the troll's legs. And then
mhm.
the troll like swipes at him and he rolls around behind and straight up just like Shadow of the
Jumps.
Colossus climbs up the troll's back and just starts
Yeah.
stabbing like crazy. You can do that in the
Well,
first one?
yeah, like that's the thing.
Oh,
Like in
I
the
didn't.
first one, like large enemies, and I don't even think you have to be a rogue. Like I believe I was like a
Oh,
fighter and
well,
I did
I
it.
guess I just don't know. Maybe I should just play Dragon's Dogma. But then like
Yeah.
the troll's like over a canyon
hmm
and he like kicks it, and the guys like attack it and stagger it, and it like
hmm
falls and makes a bridge, and then they just walk across him to get to the other end of the canyon.
Oh, they that wasn't in the first
And then
one.
like he's fighting this troll and he gets like or I don't know, I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
a troll. It looks like
Yeah.
the troll.
Yeah.
There's like this rock with a crack in it, and he like just attacks the crack, and it just floods, and the troll gets like swept away by the flood.
Oh,
It
that was
looks
not all. That was also not in the first
watch
game.
it. It's
Okay, I guess
really
I
cool
will.
looking.
All right, I guess I
Yeah,
will.
this went from a game I was like, oh, that might be kind of cool to, oh, I think I might pick up Dragon's Dogma too.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I'll definitely check it out.
yeah, which speaking of other games getting made, the Division 3 was like weirdly announced in
Mm-hmm.
like where Ubisoft was just like, oh, by the way, we're making the Division 3. This game will be made by Massive, who is making the soon to be released Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Star Wars Outlaws games. That seems like a very
Mhm.
busy studio. And
Yeah.
given the way this was released and the fact that this studio is making 2 other games, I don't think they've started working on this really yet.
No. And another thing that's kind of like a weird teased announced is this is like half video games, half media. So Netflix had a thing, they released like a trailer called like Drop One, and it's pretty much like on September 27th. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not at all.
Alright. So it's pretty much says like on September 27th, we're going to like show a bunch of like trailers for like animated action shows. It seemed very Toonami-esque, but like the weird thing is halfway through like the like trailer, it says DeadSec and it has like the little watchdog logo. So people are like, wait, so is there like did they like just tease slash announce a like Watch Dogs anime, which yeah, Ubisoft with the interest.
Yeah, I mean, my assumption is that they're just like, I mean, they don't really have, I mean, the Avatar game, I don't know how well that's going to do. Assassin's Creed will probably do okay, but I don't know for sure. So my guess is they're just like, hey, look at all this stuff we've got.
Yeah.
They've got the Blood Dragon anime, they've got
Hmm.
the new Prince of Persia game, they've got Division 3. They're kind of just trying to like almost seem like they have more than they do.
Hmm.
Like Division 3 is like a 2025 game at the
Yeah.
soonest.
Hmm.
I think they're just trying to like
I
make themselves look better.
yeah, I mean I wouldn't be surprised if like I don't know what the big Ubisoft releases have been. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like Rainbow Six Siege. It's like the only thing keeping them afloat. And they're like, we need to
Yeah.
find out what like
Yeah, what's our next
our way
siege?
for or not just that, but like what's our way forward if
Yeah.
like Siege may be keeping us alive, but what should we do? Should we start appealing to
A bit.
like established franchises like Avatar and like make games of those? Should we go to like something like Prince of Persia where it's like revisit some of our older classic titles for like a modern
No.
audience, or be like, should we just go all in on Tom Clancy again?
Yeah. Nope. I agree. Sorry,
Hmm.
my dog is like on
Oh,
one tonight.
she's a good
Um
girl.
it's okay, pup. Just
Yeah, she's a good girl.
yeah, I agree. I think Ubisoft is just really like kind of like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Yeah,
and that's why they're like all in on Assassin's Creed, because they're like, this always makes us some money, but at some
yeah.
point you're gonna have to try something
I
else.
Yeah, like
Um
even EA, they've been doing well with like their Star Wars games. At Ubisoft, it's like, what else have they got?
yeah. Yep. Um but Ubisoft really seems like it's just not totally sure where it's going. Just like Striking Distance
No.
Studios after their CEO, Glenn Schofield, has left.
Hmm.
Striking Distance Studios was the studio who created Callisto Protocol, which came out last year and did
Hmm.
not do very well. And Glenn
No.
Schofield was the director. He helped make, or he did make, Dead Space, the original Dead
Hmm.
Space.
Hmm.
And yeah, that game just didn't do particularly well, so he's leaving. I mean, it seems like the studio will stay open, which is good.
Hmm.
I mean, I was interested in Callisto Protocol. Something always seemed a little off to me, and especially because it released so close to an actual Dead Space, it was like, well, we'll just wait for the real Dead Space.
Hmm.
But the game looked impressive, and it got me like decent reviews. Seeing
Hmm.
as though it was a team's first game, I think it is something to be proud of, and I'm
Hmm.
curious to see what this studio is able to do in the future. And I hope that this is not like the like
The
beginning of
end.
the end of hopefully a very talented studio.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of reminds me of The Evil Within, which was like Shinji Mikami, the director, I believe, for Resident Evil 2, his return to horror. He made a game, and it kind of got like decent, mediocre reviews. Then they made a sequel, Evil Within 2, which got like much better reviews, and then they made Hi-Fi Rush, which
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So,
and
oh, sorry.
what's well, no, it's just funny you bring that up because what's particularly interesting about that, and like I wish I knew where to find it. It might just be online, but Game Informer did a super interesting like interview with the director of Hi-Fi Rush.
Hmm.
So Shinji Mikami did direct uh
Evil Within
Evil
1.
Within, and it was a new studio. And this guy, this guy from America, applied. He was living in Japan at the time, and he just applied. He knew nothing about game development, and he was like, "I don't know anything about game development." And they were
Hmm.
like, "You're hired." And so we learned like while making that, while making Evil Within, and then they're like, "We're gonna make a sequel. You're gonna direct it." And he's like, "What?" And so he directed it, and it came out and was pretty good. And then
Hmm.
he was then able to direct Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, it's like even if Glenn Schofield, even if there is somebody at Striking Distance Studios who worked
Hmm.
on Callisto Protocol
Hmm.
who has a very bright future in gaming,
Hmm.
and I hope that we get to see whatever they come out with.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can find it, I think his name was Johan. Man, that's John. I don't know, remember. Just look up like yeah, like Game Informer Hi-Fi Rush director and read the article. It's super interesting. Him just kind of talking about like his
Yeah.
experience and how he's just this
Yeah.
dude who just this normal guy, and
So
now he's directing a huge game.
his name was John Johannes.
Yes, I
Mhm.
was like, he's from America, but like Johan sounds weird. Yeah, John Johannes. He's the director of Hi-Fi Rush. Read his story on Game Informer. It's a really good article.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, so there's some feel good stuff about John Johannes having a very successful video game career. But our actual feel good story of the week is that Relogic, the developers of indie game Terraria, donated $100,000 to Godot and FNA, which are open source game development engines. And they are also pledging $1,000 a month to both of those. This is in the wake of Unity deciding to burn everything to the ground, which Unity did walk back their changes from last week, which for those who don't know, Unity implemented a 20 cent um, install fee. So every time you installed a Unity game, not every time you bought a Unity game, every time you installed a Unity game, the developer would get charged 20%. It caused a huge uproar, which a lot of people kind of claiming Unity is now dead. So to kind of help combat this, Relogic is donating to two potential alternatives to Unity, which yeah, this is kind of what I like was thinking when the Unity stuff first started coming out. I wanted something good to come of Unity exploding, and hopefully Godot or FNA or both is kind of that successor, and hopefully other developers get to kind of follow through on Relogic's good idea. I can't think of the right word. Uh, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's great news. Relogic, they're very well respected dev for both gamers and in the indie community for obvious reasons. But something that I believe it was them that my friend was telling me about was how they like hired another company or like something to make Terraria 2, and after they like started seeing what they were doing, like how far they came and what the final product was going to look like, they actually ended up scrapping it and being like, "Hey, we made a mistake. It was below our standards, so we're going to make like Terraria 2, but we're going to make it because we don't want to put out something that disappoints people." So it seems like, oh, sorry, that was my fan. Um, so it seems like they are like a company that they really are passionate about games and game development. And so I think that it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, they want to ensure that they're not the only ones reaping these rewards. They had a huge success, and now what they want to do is they want to make sure that other people can enjoy that success. Like, yeah, game development, a lot of people want to be game developers, so yeah, they want to make sure that people can achieve that dream like they did. Obviously, yeah, it's great. It's always great to hear indie devs supporting other indie devs.
Yeah. And now that you're done talking about Relogic, I just don't want to brush over the fact that your fan is a Japanese anime girl. So,
Yeah, it is.
I was like,
It's
what is going on back there? And you're like when I heard what was going, like the background,
I
you
oh
saying,
the
"Oh,
Sky.
sorry, that was my fan," was like my initial thought was like your own personal like cheerleader, but
Yeah,
then
so it's one of those things they like kind of like how Ric Flair used to always say, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, actually now that I think about it, I've messed up what the meaning of that's supposed to be. But essentially, there's another quote by him that was like, if you want to be a big deal, you got to like act like it. And so I actually hired somebody here who's our very first listener in order to yeah, so I actually
yeah,
hired
like a hype
somebody.
man. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
hype man,
exactly.
but
So
it's
like
Japan,
why
so
don't
it's
you
got to
go
be
ahead
yeah.
and say hello? Yeah. So hello.
Nice.
Yep,
Yeah.
of
Well,
course.
you gotta make sure that there's a time and a place to hype you up. And in the
Yeah.
middle of a monologue about Terraria developers Relogic is not the
Yeah.
time, hype
Yeah.
girl. So
But
but that's okay. She can hype us up now because that's all the news for the week.
yeah.
So unless there was something else you want to talk about, we can get into our Skyrim
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's jump on into it.
Okay. So to start with, it's Skyrim.
Uh-huh.
What do kind of spoiler free, brief impressions? What do you like about the game? What do you not like about the game? And who would you recommend it to?
Briefest impressions. I would say the world, side quest, both normal and side quests, phenomenal. Combat, not the best. I'd recommend it to fantasy fans, people who don't play a lot of games. They like just kind of like having a game and then playing like a lot of it. So it's a long game. So pretty much people that prefer longer games than a lot of shorter ones.
Yeah, I mean that's. I don't want to say exactly what you said, but I agree with pretty much everything you said.
Hmm.
Um, I like obviously the world,
Hmm.
and the amount of just things to do is
Hmm.
insane. Not a fan of the combat really,
No,
and characters aren't super memorable. But I would recommend this
no.
to pretty much anybody, whether you like video games or not. I think this
Hmm.
is like an easy game to kind of get lost in, unless
Hmm.
you don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, let's just get into it. So, I haven't played any other Elder Scrolls game. I don't think. I feel like I
You
remember
played some
buying.
of Oblivion. You played a bit of Oblivion.
Okay, I was thinking about that. I was like, did I buy Oblivion? I remember I
You
had a
did, but
disc.
I remember you bought Oblivion, and then you but it was one of those games where the world leveled up with you, and that was something you weren't a big fan of.
I don't remember that at all. So yeah, I guess I played Oblivion. But I did play. So I don't think I bought Skyrim when it came out. Because I was like, well, I didn't really like Oblivion, but then everybody talked about it, so I picked it up, and I ended up
Hmm.
putting a lot of time into it.
Hmm.
And I ended up doing like a lot of like the like kind of cool quest lines, like the
Hmm.
Thieves Guild and stuff. What about you?
Hmm.
How much of it, like, did you get pretty into it or not
I
really?
not I felt like I put a lot of time into it, but I don't think I got that high of a level, and I think I think that the main reason why was because I found somebody that had like really good armor, and then I was like, cool. So I like killed them when nobody was looking and stole their armor, and I didn't find any other equipment that was like better than that
Oh,
armor and
really?
that sword. Yeah, for like most of the time I was playing, and so it was just a thing where it was like I love RPGs like finding new equipment and equipping them, and the fact that I spent so much time with the same armor and the same weapons just really got me like bored, and it felt like I wasn't really making progress even though I was completing quests and such.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mhm.
I don't remember. I don't even remember what build I went with. I probably just went with kind of just like a strength build because that was kind of what
Yeah.
I did at the time,
Hmm.
just not knowing what to do. But when I think about the game, I don't even really remember the story. I just think about like specific things I did.
Hmm.
Like I just remember like me playing through the game, not really knowing what I was doing, just like walking around, and I like saw this cliff, and I just
Hmm.
started like climbing it, and I get to the top, and there's just this giant dragon, and like I don't think it was for like a quest or anything. There was just this
Hmm.
dragon there, and it decided to like fuck with me, and I just fought this dragon, and that's kind of, I think, like, and I'm sure there are people who have way better stories than I
Yeah.
do. And again, I played this game once when it came out like 10 years ago,
Hmm.
but I just remember sort of like that idea of like you don't know what's going to happen
Hmm.
next, not from like a storytelling perspective, but just from like
Hmm.
the world. Like you can become like a vampire in this game,
Yeah.
and it totally fits within the game, and I that's just like a quest line that I just stumbled
Hmm.
upon. um and so when I think about this game, that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
I think about.
Well, I think about something really interesting is like the big thing about this game was that like the Elder Scrolls series never had dragons. And so that was like the big thing about Skyrim was
I do remember that,
we
yeah.
have dragons. And the thing is, the dragons just fit so well that they don't seem like a gimmick. They seem like it's just a part of that world. It seems like something that's just yeah, it's like, oh, Elder Scrolls, there's the dragon, Booth Roda.
But it always, yeah, but the nice thing about the dragons is it always felt like it was like a big deal.
Exactly.
Like they used it spare, like it's weird because yeah, you are the dragonborn, but like they didn't go overboard. It was still
Yeah.
like these epic moments. They were important
Hmm.
moments. Wherever
Yeah.
you came across one, it was like a
Yeah.
special moment. It wasn't just like, and then we went into the dungeon and killed 18 dragons.
Yeah. Well, the first part in the game, like the first dragon you fight when like you have the other soldiers with you, like that's a pretty like memorable moment.
Yeah, and then it kind of shows like these things are not to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
So then when you run into one later and you are by yourself,
Hmm.
it did a really good job of like conveying that threat, but also
Yeah.
showing how strong you are. Like, yeah, you took
Hmm.
down a dragon with all these soldiers, but now here you are, however many hours later, and
Hmm.
you did it by yourself. So it's
With a
like,
horse.
yeah, with
With
a
your horse
horse.
that got you there.
Yeah. I think well, because I climbed it. I don't think I had a horse. I climbed this
Really?
cliff
Yeah.
with my
That
feet.
most people try to just like climb mountains using horses. That was like the big thing in the
Oh
game.
yeah, like
People were
goats.
like, I'm sure that this horse can make it up this hill, this
Yeah,
one
more
left hill.
reliable. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody jokes about the combat. The combat is
Yeah.
not great. Um,
No.
I played again mostly a kind of strength wielder, so
Uh-huh.
just sort of you kind of just hold down the right trigger and he just
Yeah.
flails around and hope he kills the thing.
And the big problem too was you didn't play as just strength. Just like a strength warrior, you also subclassed into stealth archer, which
Yes, I did.
stealth archer, yeah, and that was the thing. Everybody did because it was so good. And it was like and it's one of those things where it's like, oh well it makes sense. Like you sneak around, you like people don't see you, and then like you use a bow and arrow to pick them off. Like it makes sense. Like and that's realistic. And it's like it's realistic, but you fight dragons in the game.
Yeah,
Like
those wooden
realism was
arrows are.
gone. Realism was I didn't agree to realism when I bought this game. And it's
Yeah,
like and I think that's something that is kind of also makes it a little like from that perspective like it does kind of suffer a bit like to have one thing that everybody like subclassed in just because it was that good. Even like with RPGs, like there are people who be like the hardcore ones who are like, oh, they min max. It's like, oh, you do subclass in this because it's the best. You would not look at like anything related to Skyrim, and you would still like subclass into it just because it was like that
yeah,
good
it's
and it
very
made that much
versatile.
sense.
Yeah. No,
Um,
you're right. I definitely did Archer stealth because, like you said, it
mhm,
was kind of like OP, and I don't
yeah,
know for sure. Like, I'm sure at like a high level the game is balanced, but
hmm,
you're right. It didn't necessarily feel like that. There were definitely some. class or skills that are more
Yeah.
beneficial. Which is, it's a shame when you have such like a massive game where you can do so much, but then you're not pigeonholed. You can play as whatever you want,
Hmm.
but you'll definitely have like a better experience with certain builds, which is a shame.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um, oh, go ahead.
oh, no, you can go ahead.
Well, I was going to just move on from that and talk about the
Uh,
music.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, and I did play a bit of Another Time. Like, I started it as like a magic user, and it was like it was fun, but it was something where like I wasn't really invested enough on my first playthrough. I didn't even finish the game, and so I wasn't even that invested on my second.
Yeah, it wasn't
So
gonna carry you through. I did finish the game,
yeah.
and what's cool about the game is that it really is just like the game with no ending. Like you
Hmm.
beat the main quest and there's no credits. And I remember like beating it, like I knew I was at the last level
Yeah.
because you can just tell. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, is there more to do? And I looked and I didn't have that quest line anymore. And I was like, I guess that's it. But I
Hmm.
kind of like it kind of clicked in my head, like, oh well, it's because I still have all these things to do.
Yeah.
The game isn't over yet. Those main quest was just one story for my
Yeah.
character, which is a really cool way to go about an open world game.
Hmm.
Like I like Fallout 3, I think. Spoilers for
Hmm.
Fallout 3. Um a couple of the endings you die, maybe like
Hmm.
all the endings, but that has like a very definitive end. And that was I think the first Bethesda game
Bethesda.
I played
Yeah.
was Fallout 3 cuz that came
Hmm.
yeah, that came out before Skyrim.
Yeah.
Um and so me getting and my first ending I did die. So for me to
Hmm.
get this other ending in Skyrim where the game it wasn't even an ending, I was very like surprised. Like I don't know why
Hmm.
I said surprised, like
Yeah.
surprised. Um
Surprise.
surprised. I was so surprised.
Who's
Uh
surprised? Who is she?
soup. It's a dish. It's soup
Oh.
prize.
Oh, soup prize. Oh, but you can't eat it because you're allergic to soup,
I
right?
am allergic. Yep,
Yeah,
just soup.
yeah, that's a thing that's a story for another day. But
Yeah, I'm allergic to soup.
yeah,
I can eat carrots, but if it's carrot soup or tomato soup, nope, I'm allergic
no,
to soup.
and he can
Um,
eat ramen as well
I
because
can eat
it's not a
ramen because
soup.
that's
Yeah,
yep, and I can eat
but
spaghetti.
regardless, we don't care. Your allergies aren't important right now.
Yeah, not now. We're talking about
Yeah,
Skyrim. We're talking about a
yeah, of
video
course.
game of
Uh huh. Welcome, join us on the Soup Disc
the soup
podcast where
disc. So,
we uh
all
we
right,
talk
tell you
about
all
soup
the
that's.
things that happen if I eat soup. Um, so but yeah, it was cool to I was surprised to not
Yeah.
have that definitive ending. And I think I actually normally when I roll credits on a game, even if I had side things to do, I'm done. Like I'm like I saw
Hmm.
the ending, I'm done. But I think that Skyrim was that game where I kept doing other stuff just because I had other stuff to do and I was still having fun. And then at some point I kind of dropped off of it. I mean, I'm definitely not one of those people who was like picked up Skyrim when it launched 10 years ago and is still playing it today.
Hmm.
I picked up the game, I played it, I beat it, I kept playing it for a little bit, and then I moved on to something else. But I also acknowledge that a lot of games probably wouldn't exist without Skyrim.
Hmm.
Breath of
Can
the
you give like
Wild probably
okay?
wouldn't exist without Skyrim.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a game that I completely understand its importance. I don't know why I'm saying words weird today. Importance. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
so
it's
yes, go ahead.
yeah, it's one of those things. I wasn't a big fan of the game personally. Like I said, I got these weapons and the gameplay loop just was
Why are you
bit
trying to
repetitive.
cancel us before we even like wrap up an episode? I'm
Well,
not a
hold
fan of
on.
Skyrim.
Well, you're getting ahead of yourselves. You're waiting for the butt. You gotta wait for the butt. You gotta wait for the butt. So it's a game like I wasn't a big fan of, but I acknowledge it's a very
But
good
it
game.
fucking sucks.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's like, yeah, it wasn't a good game. I didn't like it.
And that's the end of this.
Yep, that's the end of that
and that's
statement.
and that's the show, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week when
Yeah, no.
nothing happens.
But it is a good game. It's like, and that's the thing, like, and I'm sure that's a thing that like we are going to talk about, just because like we don't personally enjoy a game doesn't mean it's a bad game. There are some things that just they don't click for you, but you can still acknowledge it's good.
And on the other side of that coin, there are certain games that are not good that I enjoy.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's there's a
uh,
couple of those I got.
well, you like sweary games.
Well, those are actually good.
No. I
Those are
can't
good
think of
games.
one. I mean, I like Sonic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sonics are good games. There's literally no bad Sonic game. Every single Sonic game is great. There's nothing wrong with them. They're all
No,
perfect in their own
I'll
unique way,
say
but some are better than are better than others.
Sonic Generations is overrated.
Okay, well that's yeah, and you were worried about me getting us canceled. We're going to
But
have
but
one
Sonic
per.
fans, but assuming we stick with this long enough,
Mhm.
Sonic fans are going to come for us no matter what because we. Uh, I'm just going to say this. I don't know if any Sonic game is getting on that list,
Oh
and that's
no.
going to be. And if any of them does, it'll be like Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
All
Like
right.
Sonic Generations is not getting on. Definitely not the adventure games. Uh, this
Which
coming,
we love. You love the adventure games. You love Adventure 2.
I
You used to at
let's
least.
talk about Skyrim. I
Yeah, we're getting a
Sonic
little
Adventure
off
2.
topic.
I have a weird relationship with Sonic Adventure 2. But
But
that's all we'll talk
but
about
going
Sonic
back to
Adventure
what
2. Going back to
it
Skyrim.
is, it's a good
Yeah,
game. Is what I'm
I think
saying.
it's yeah, I mean I think that's an understatement. It's
Yeah,
an incredibly good game.
yeah.
Um
But I think
like
that
we
it's one of those things. Sorry, do you mind if I say
no,
this?
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, because there's so many jokes about like, oh, we're making another Skyrim port. Like, now it's like Skyrim's on the Switch. Skyrim's coming to like PlayStation 5. It's one of those things that like, because we play like it's on everything and it is like a 10-year game, we do kind of forget like how big of a deal it actually is for its
Well, I
time.
think see to me that's the opposite. The fact that it is ported to everything, the fact that yeah, like it Bethesda is making money selling this game so many times because
Hmm.
people will keep buying it. And I feel
Yeah,
like that's just a testament to kind of the staying power of this game where
yeah.
like I mean people have been playing it for 10 years and they're
Hmm.
still like having adventures in this game and I can't
Hmm.
think of another game that like has that longevity. Um
I can the only one I can really think of is like Fallout New Vegas, which is also a Bethesda game.
yeah, well, but that was a little different because that was
Hmm. Obsidian.
yeah, yeah, well,
Yeah.
also owned by Microsoft. Um
Hmm.
yeah, but even then I feel like that's not like I don't think I can play New Vegas on my Switch.
No, and that's the thing. Now maybe like part of the reason is because like New Vegas didn't sell as well as they
Yeah,
wanted.
exactly.
But it's weird that like we haven't gotten like a Fallout 3 port on modern consoles, and I think that, like you said, it does kind of say a lot about Skyrim that it's ported to everything, while
Because
no
it's
Fallout game has really
I yeah,
been.
because it keeps making money because you know there are people who like my fiance like she plays some video games but for the
Hmm.
most part she just plays Overwatch.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's uncommon. Like there are people who just play WoW or just play
Hmm.
like Fortnite or whatever. Like they are
Yeah.
people who generally
Yeah. You're talking to one of them,
yeah, you
baby.
only famously only play Fortnite. But there are people like
Spoiler
there
alert. Want to know what the number one game of all time's gonna be? It's Fortnite. But
no, it's
ironically,
Billy Hatcher.
Fortnite saved the world, not a battle royale.
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty good.
Oh man.
Um, but it's Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Okay. Well.
But there are people who like Skyrim is just their game. Like that is just the game that they play.
Hmm.
And again, the fact that the game's been out so long and people are still doing that is really a testament to it.
Hmm.
I mean, we kind of mentioned it. Combat is weak, but I think it's good enough. The whole point of the game is to explore, and the combat never gets in the way of that. And it's at
Hmm.
least it's good enough to get you there. And like, I mean, firing arrows and
Yeah.
things. I think that's part
I'm.
of the reason why that build is kind of better in some ways too, because
Mhm.
swinging a sword feels kind of clunky, but firing an arrow kind of feels the same in any game you do.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
yeah,
have been saying a lot of praises, but I will disagree with you on there. I don't think the combat's good enough personally. I think that it's a great game despite its combat. I did not like I mentioned, I didn't actually finish the main quest. Um, it was because like I was doing side quests and things, but I wasn't finding any new equipment that was like better than what I had, and I thought that yeah, combat was repetitive. So I acknowledge it's a good game, but I don't I personally don't think the combat's good enough. I think that it's a good game despite the combat.
Okay.
Um,
You don't
but
enjoy
that's just
Fuzro dying people off cliffs?
okay. Fuzro dying was like the highlight.
Like,
That part was
yeah,
great,
even if you
but
don't like swinging sword sucks.
yeah.
Fuzro dying was just awesome.
Oh, it was. And yeah, then there are like the mods that let you Fusro dod the kids because it
Yeah,
was like because that was the thing. It was like 90% of the kids were such jerks, and it was like
but
yeah,
but isn't that just a point towards like how realistic the game was and how ahead of its time it was?
well, the fact that you couldn't Fusro dod that they all had lead in their shoes wasn't.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Famously, kids. Well, but they knew. They learned
hmm
that lesson. Like, if I'm gonna be a little shit, I need to put lead in my shoes, or else the Dragonborn's gonna like,
yeah,
yeah, wind gust me across the
yeah.
land.
And I am going to say that is actually a knock against the game. Like if you put kids in your game, I get it. You don't want players to like be like, "Oh, look at me, I'm like beating up kids." Like I get it. Don't make them assholes though. Like that's just like, "Ha, bet you wish
Again,
you could beat them up,
it
don't
would
you?"
it would take you out of Noah. You teach young children.
I
It
do.
would take you out of the game if they were nice, because you'd be like, dragons
No,
are
cuz
one thing, but nice children, that's
no, there aren't nice kids all the time.
hmm.
Like no, it's but no, it's one of those things where it's like um yeah, just don't like yeah, don't don't make the kids such jerks because it's like yeah, just you could literally just have them be AI voice like, "Oh, hello," and that would be fine. But yeah, they made the kids like huge jerks, and it was like, ugh, that was a weird. That's a weird thing. Just there were some nice
Such
kids,
a
but
weird
only.
complaint. Like
But it's a
all the
weird
kids in
complaint.
this game are bad. I'd be
It's
more
a
okay with it if I could harm them.
no. It's one of those things where it's like, just don't make them jerks.
I mean, I guess maybe the people at Bethesda, because they were, they didn't have kids because they were just too busy working on
Yeah,
Skyrim.
that's true.
They were creating
Yeah.
entertainment for us, and so they're like, "Oh no, we added kids. What do kids do? I don't know. I think they're mean.
Yeah. Well, it's some
I
like
got picked on when I was that age, so kids are awful."
well, it's some guy who's like the person working is like a child free and it's one of those people who are like very bitter about it. So it's like,
Yeah,
man,
that's
I
probably it.
hate kids so much, and it's like they made them super like evil to encourage people to go against like to Fuzro Daw them, but then like the director was like, dude, like we can't do that. Like that's really messed up. He's like, oh, fine, I'm
Oh,
gonna make my
fine.
own. And then that person
Yeah,
that
he's the
wrote
one who
it
created
ended
the
up
mod.
making the mod.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I'll show you all."
Like Jeffrey, we found out about your mod work and we can't fire you, but we're just a little disappointed to be honest. But
Yeah,
it's one of those things, it's a weird complaint, but it was something very talked about on the internet when the game came out.
yeah. No,
But
I do remember that kind of being a thing.
yeah.
Um,
So that's the thing. Putting kids in your game, that's cool. I get not wanting to hurt them. Like that also makes perfect sense. I'm down with that. Don't make them huge jerks though. Like any other game, it's like, oh, this guy's being an asshole. I'm gonna kill him. This, it's like, okay, now you're putting like this moral like boundary for me to see even test if I can hurt him.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean it.
Oh, kind of funny. Sort of related, sort of not. About kids in Skyrim. Do you remember like the orphanage mission?
Kind of.
It was like about you go to there's like an orphanage and like the old lady's like a jerk. She's abusing these kids and all these things.
Oh
But
yeah, I do remember
apparently
that.
she's like a deity if she is able to harm them.
Yeah, she's more
But
powerful than the Dragonborn.
yeah, I remember like when I went to there, like yeah, like she's a huge jerk. She's like abusing kids and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm not only going to kill this girl, I'm gonna like make her suffer. I'm gonna do it with my bare fist. And so like because I had a strength field, put my sword around, I punched her and I think I like punched her head off or something, or I just punched her once and she died, and all the kids started cheering, if I'm not
I think I did
mistaken.
something similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't need to use a sword to kill this old lady.
Yeah, she's like 90, suffers from arthritis, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, she was falling
Anyway, but
apart.
I like how we went from talking about like fighting dragons to now like being
Fighting
unable to harm
children.
kids and like harming old women.
Yeah, Skyrim's not making the list. I can't harm children, but I can harm women, old women,
Yeah,
who abuse children. That's the
yeah,
only
and
time
that's
it's
good.
okay. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
when it's okay to harm if they're
Yeah.
abusing a child. The only other thing I kind of wanted to touch about this game, which I was trying to do before you talked about your weird
Yeah.
hatred for the children of Skyrim,
Okay,
is the
like I
music.
said,
I
I don't
don't.
like I like I said, it's one of those things I like that they included that you couldn't hurt kids because I feel like yeah, there would be a lot of people that would like
No, I get
not
it. You
yeah.
don't have to elaborate.
Yeah.
You've done
It's
that for the
just
past 5 minutes.
yeah.
I
It's just
understand your point.
yeah.
But that I would have never brought that up in this discussion because I was too busy trying to talk about the music,
Mhm.
which uh, I don't remember. I remember like I heard the Skyrim song like a week ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this song fucking
Mhm.
rocks. Like the Skyrim
Mhm.
song is so good. I don't remember any other music in the game. I think it's good though. Like I guess I
Yeah.
remember kind of like when you're walking around villages and it's like all peaceful. I think I remember those just from like TikToks of people making fun of the
Mhm.
Bethesda models.
Yeah.
I think the music's generally pretty good though, but the main song just slaps. It's so
Mhm.
good.
Mhm. It's like
He is no
I'm not a
lucky
yeah,
Dragonborn.
exactly. Like every gamer knows that part. And it's one of those things I'm not a big like music person in games, but that piece is iconic. The
Yeah.
da da
Oh yeah,
da
yeah,
da 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 da. Like that's one of those things where it's like that is, in my opinion, one of
yeah.
like the most iconic video game like
Yeah, it's up
soundtrack.
there. Yeah, it's up there with like Mario, Zelda, and
Like One Winged Angel, like stuff like
yeah,
that.
Halo.
Hmm.
Nope, I'm with you there. I think that,
Hmm.
in fact, I think that that's kind of why maybe the music isn't as memorable because that theme is so memorable that
Hmm.
like everything it overshadows everything else
Yeah.
because whenever you're listening to the music in that game, you're like, wish this was the theme. Like it just goes so hard, but it's so yeah, it's fantastic.
But even then, like I remember just like the walking around music that's like the flute,
It's
that
cool.
was
Yeah, I
like good.
remember. It's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's just
Not
and
as
that's again,
iconic.
that's I'm not saying the music's bad. I'm just saying that song is so good.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's like all the music is like an
It's
8 or a
good
9 and
music.
this is like 11 out of or like 12.
Exactly. It's a song that is so good that it makes other good songs forgettable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's what it is. But overall,
Yeah.
I think that it has good music. I think that
Yes.
really this is a game that does everything very well except for combat and harming children.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no, no. Let's. The complaint isn't harming children. The complaint is that they're all huge jerks,
okay, well,
and that yeah, you can't even do anything about them. Or you know what would be a good middle ground? Just have a "Where's your parents" button.
that would be funny.
That
Like,
would be the thing. So it's like, oh, it is. The kid's like, yeah, I bet I could beat you up. Be like, kid, where's your dad?
and then his dad comes out, and then you like,
You beat him up?
yeah, no. Well, I was gonna say you get to play as the dad and like
Oh, like,
discipline
no, no, no!
discipline the child.
No! I don't like that!
Why?
Because I don't want to play as an abusive father.
I didn't say he was abusive. He could just scold him or like
Oh,
ground him or something. Basically, like just like punish this child in front of you.
yeah, regardless, I don't like how much of a conversation that I don't
Yeah,
like how much of
this
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 discussion
is
has been
your
had.
fault. Not
It
only
is, and
you're
it's
the one who brought up the kid. I never would have brought that up. You're also the one that said, "Hey, we should do Skyrim," which I'm guessing was just a front to talk about the weird like hatred you have for the children of this game. And I'm
I
just trying to like talk about the game, and you're like, "But the kids."
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like yeah, I was one of those
Yeah,
things where I was like, remember like not the first like like the first little like village you go to, and I remember reading online, people were like, "Dang, like these kids are jerks," and I was
No,
like,
I do
"Yeah,
remember. Yeah, it was like two people. It was like the arrow in the knee guy and kids suck. Like I
yeah."
do.
That was like the big
That was
meme
the
about. Those were the memes about the
that was
game,
the
and
discourse. Yeah,
and
nope,
that
I
was the
agree.
thing. It was like, man, I'm gonna hit this kid with a Fusro Da, and you do it, and like three people in the background go flying, but the kid just
Yeah,
stares
the
at
kids
you.
just
And
yeah.
yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah. Um,
Well,
but no,
I'm
regardless, it was. But I think that it is one of those things where it's like the fact that it is like a big conversation that people talk about, and even that we can remember people talk about, shows how big of a deal this game is. That something very unforgettable in any other game can have a full like discussion about
yeah,
here, shows like just how like big it was, because
yeah.
it was like such a small random thing, but a lot of people were in fact talking about it like in the gaming
Well, it was just
community, just
because
as like
it was because
joke.
everything about this game was being picked apart.
Exactly.
Because it was just everywhere. Everybody was playing
Yeah.
it. It was, and
And it was,
people are still playing it.
yeah, and like I said, and you did forget another big thing, like when you were talking about like arrow to the knee and like the kids. Another thing was the horse climbing the mountains.
Yeah, but that
Like
was also in Oblivion. I think that was just like a Bethesda thing. I think.
yeah, although I felt like it, because Skyrim was such a huge game, it was also bigger on there as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, but yeah, so it was one of those things. But and then of course Booster Doll was like a huge meme as
Oh yeah,
well.
everybody was
Which
saying. Even like I had people who didn't like because this came out when I was in high school.
yeah,
There were people who didn't even play video games who like knew the Fusro Dog thing, and I remember there was like a whole series of like Fusro Dog
yeah,
videos where it would just be like play the Skyrim song, and then
yeah. Well,
it'd
that
be
was
like an
like a big meme.
explosion.
Yeah, that was a big meme. Like something would fall down, or like there'd be like a typhoon or something, and like a mailbox would like fly off, and then it'd be like, "Here's Dovaki, Dragonborn, Fusro Dawn," like the
Yeah,
mailbox
that's
would
when I
go
would.
flying.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I've said all I have to say about this game. I think it makes the list.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite game, but it's one that I acknowledge is a very good game.
Where do you think it goes?
I'm probably gonna say like maybe some point from like, honestly, maybe like something 30 to 40-ish. I'm thinking maybe around the 40 mark.
I'm gonna do 40 just because I know we are not the biggest Skyrim fans. I'll put it
Mm-hmm.
right at 40. These numbers can change,
Yep.
but for now, I think that we will have it at 40. And if we need to move it up or down, I think it'll get easier to fill out this list as we fill
Yes.
other things in, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
well, we know that Metal Gear Solid is better than Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly. And we know.
Spoilers for this podcast. Metal
Yeah,
Gear.
and we know.
You know what? I'm spoiling it now. Metal Gear Solid's going to be on this list.
Oh, are you sure about that?
I'm. I mean, unless you absolutely hate Metal Gear Solid, in which case, I don't even know what we're gonna
Yeah,
do.
man, you don't realize it, but I've actually been planning like all of these arguments against Metal Gear Solid, to where you like will be like,
Oh
wow,
shit! Maybe that game
not
does
only is
Metal Gear
Metal Gear
Solid
Solid
suck?
not exactly like, you're gonna be like, oh, not only Metal Gear Solid isn't making on the list, this game is like maybe one of the worst games of all time.
No, it's not. I mean, we'll see. We'll see when we get to that episode.
No,
I'd be
no,
very surprised if Metal
odds
Gear Solid.
are odds are Metal Gear Solid, yeah, will make the list.
Yeah,
Not,
you're
not
talking
will.
about we're
Odds
talking about Metal
are,
Gear Solid Online, right?
like, what was it? Survive? Yeah, that game will make the list.
Yeah,
Metal Gear Solid
it
Survive.
has to.
No,
All right.
Metal Gear Solid, it's gonna make the list.
Yeah. All right. So, yep, we got Skyrim at 40. It's on the list. Our uh inaugural entry. So that about wraps it up. Before we get out of here, Noah, what have you been playing? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I've been playing another fantasy open world game with a lot of replayability, which of
Fae Farm?
course,
Oh,
no, it's the whatchamacallit, the game with the 5 seasons, the like spring, winter, summer, fall, and then death.
Death.
No.
What was
Game
that?
came
It's
out, and
Harvestella,
that
yeah.
Yeah, that game came out and it was like a joke. But no, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Real fast, because I said Fae Farm. When I went to PAX, Fae Farm was like huge at PAX for some reason. Like all the lanyards said Fae Farm on it, and Fae Farm had this gigantic booth that straight up just had coloring books. Like,
was there at least a lot of people there?
Oh, it was packed. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well,
Like,
I know it
a
was
lot
packed,
of people.
but did a lot of people go to the Fae Farm booth?
Yeah, a lot of people were playing the games, but my fiance wanted to
play.
She wanted to color, so she colored. Anyway, you've been playing Baldur's Gate.
Nice. Yeah, so I've been playing Baldur's Gate. It's a good game. It's one that the more you play it, the more you love it, but the more you also notice some glaring flaws. However, apparently like a huge patch got released today, so I'm really excited about that, and hopefully it fixes a lot of those things. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But what about you, Simon? What have you been playing?
So I wrapped up Pikmin 4, so then I jumped back into playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm trying to just finish up that so that I can just be done with it. I'm on the last chapter, so it shouldn't take me too much longer. I still enjoy it, but I'm at this point I'm kind of just ready for it to be done. But the game I've been playing the most is Armored Core, and I finished it last Tuesday. But that game kind of has like a cool like new game plus thing. So the game has choices where you can choose which missions to undertake, and that gives you different endings, and there's 3 different endings. And originally I was like, well, I'm just going to play through it, but I've ended up enjoying the game so much that I'm like, I think I might just try to get all 3 endings, because the game's not very long anyway. So I've mostly been playing Armored Core, and that game's so fucking cool. Like it is just like, I mean,
to quote Onacon, it's like one of your Japanese animes, right?
It is like it is just like a mech anime. Like it is just mech anime, the video game. Like but it's just like it has a sense of like combat that no other game has like had before. Sorry, my dog is whining.
Oh, she's a good girl.
We're almost done, pup. I know, come here. But it's just like it's just like fighting bosses is cool because you're just like dancing around, firing missiles. It is like I can only describe it as a dance. It's such a cool game. It's just rad. I really enjoyed my first playthrough. I'm really enjoying my second playthrough. I think I'm gonna just try to get all 3 endings. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
You'll like it. I know you'll like it.
Yeah, it's something that I'm really interested in. The only thing is I have Baldur's Gate right now. The Resident Evil 4 DLC came out, which I'm debating about buying because I heard that's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I was gonna buy it, and then I remembered you had my copy, and I was like, well.
Yeah, so yeah, and they even added a update to Mercenaries mode where you can play as Ada Wong and
that's
what's
cool,
that?
I'm like
Albert Wesker.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. So I'll just buy the DLC if I want to play more of that game. I don't really care about the Mercenaries, but
yeah.
All right, so yep, that's about it. Was there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, well, I guess I mean, it doesn't like so plugging something means just like putting it in, letting people be aware. I don't really have any social media, so instead I'm going to plug our number 1 fan, which is do you have anything you would like to say, number 1 fan? All right, there you have it. Heighten on this.
Heard a little bit of it, but all right, thanks, Hype Girl. All right, then.
What about you?
I'm gonna play us out, and then I'll do our outro. If I can click the button, right? Click the live button. And sorry, I should have this ready. I thought that it would be. Gotta make sure it's quiet because that music will blast. I do that every time I test it.
Yeah.
So goddamn loud. All right. So that's about it. If you want more of me, you can find me on Twitch at Smesty. Like I said, I've been playing Armored Core, and I'm streaming that until I get all 3 endings. If you liked this, please follow us, subscribe. You can find us on Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify. If there's another podcast platform you like, feel free to reach out to me. which you can do by emailing me at simon.gamedisk@gmail.com. And you can also find all future and previous podcast episodes at thegamedisc.com once I get that site up and running. Finally, thank you to Pecan Pie on Upbeat for our intro and outro songs. And we will see you all next week. Noah, what do you want to talk about next week?
Oh, that's a difficult thing. Do you have any ideas?
I got a
chose
couple.
Skyrim, so
We'll talk about it next week, but we've got 10 seconds. So
alrighty then.
5. Or no, we have more time than that.
Oh well, it doesn't matter. Alrighty
All right.
then. Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.